My name is David Roberts. I'm an environmental reporter for Grist.org, which is an online environmental news site. And I'm here. I've come here about the past 3 years. This year, I'm here actually on a non-green panel. I organized a panel about the filibuster and reforming the Senate, which will take place on Saturday.
The question we're asking everybody today is, what's next?
Well, I'm not sure what will be next, but I tell you what I would like to happen next, and this has to do with my panel too, is it's become really clear that one of the things that's standing in the way of all progressive reforms, environmental and otherwise, is the absurd institution of the Senate, and particularly what has become the default supermajority requirement of 60 votes for anything to happen at all. And we just saw the latest consequences of that today. Harry Reid just put out a statement saying that the energy bill is not going to have a climate component. It's not going to have any restrictions on greenhouse gases, and that's purely because they can get to 54, 55, maybe 56, but they can't get to 60. So that's just the latest in a long line of progressive priorities that has fallen before the filibuster. So what I'd like to see happen next is every progressive organization from every silo peel off about 15 to 20% of their time and energy and money and advocacy to take on these procedural issues that are very boring, let's face it, and difficult to talk about in an inspiring way, but are more materially obstructing progress than any of the things that we spend more time talking about, like framing and how much money is spent on ads versus other stuff. All that kind of stuff is subsidiary in my mind to this ridiculous 60-vote requirement. So I really feel like I'd like to see a lot of progressives from different areas rally around that as an issue.
I don't think most people realize that the filibuster rule, it was changed a while back to make it much easier for people to do it.
That's right. Well, the filibuster, I mean, most people don't know, and obviously people should come to my panel to find out more, but most people don't know that there is no actual filibuster rule. It's just the Senate was founded on the principle of unlimited debate, and so there's no rule to force debate to end and a vote to happen, except for what's called the cloture rule, which requires 60 votes. So it's sort of an accident that this came about, and it wasn't typically a standard it wasn't a standard tactic. It was used a lot around civil rights, but it's only been lately in the last session that Republicans have made it effectively the default requirement for anything to move forward in the Senate, anything procedural, substantive, or otherwise. And so it's not like the founders put this in the Constitution. It's not like there's some sacrosanct rule that you need more than a majority in this one institution, when majority rule works perfectly well for virtually every other democratic institution in the world. So it's past time for people to start paying attention to it.
I mean, when we think of filibuster, I think of Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and everybody staying up all night, one guy reading the phone book to keep the debate going. But that's not what happens anymore, right?
All that has to happen is a senator has to say, I'm not going to allow this to go to a vote. And that's the threat of a filibuster, basically. And at this point, to overcome that, most people don't understand this either. It's perverse. It's not that if the Republicans want to filibuster, that all the Republicans have to show up and camp out. It's that all the Democrats have to show up and camp out and wait for enough Republicans to leave the room that they can get the votes to move it forward. So there are very few actual filibusters. It's just that everybody just accepts now that 60 votes is what has to happen.
Anything else you'd like to tell us or talk about?
Well, I would like to say that this is one of those issues that's difficult to explain and difficult to make a rousing slogan around, but if there was a person or a corporation who was doing as much damage to the progressive cause as the filibuster, it would be enemy number one on everybody's list. Everybody would be rushing to demonize that corporation or that person. But the filibuster is that person. So it's time for people to start finding out ways to talk about this that move people and connect with people.